Fistandalis. I'm here to do a comparison and real quick review on the Primary Arms 3 MOA CR2032 Red Dot sights. I have a first generation and a second generation, and I'm going to compare them to each other and also compare it to the slightly more expensive AA multi-reticle red dot sight that I also purchased from Primary Arms. First things first, we'll go over with the things that you get with the red dot sights. When I purchased the first generation here, I also got a little Allen wrench for the mount, a lens cloth, and of course some very basic instructions on how to zero it, getting a clear sight picture, mounting it, etc. With the second generation, I got an Allen wrench. Of course, with my horrible camera you probably can't see this, but it's slightly different in that it's not a traditional Allen wrench. I don't know if you can see this or not, but it's actually kind of a star end, and it's because on the second generation the screws, the tips of the screws have been changed to a star pattern. Also got another lens cloth and another set of instructions. Basically the same thing as the first gen, just with a colorful stop sign on it. With the second gen, I also received the mount came in a separate box, and with the mount came these little collar pieces. And what I'm guessing these little collar pieces are for is if you have smaller items such as a flashlight and you want to use that mount, you put the collar pieces around the flashlight and then put it into the mount and it'll fit, because of course these flashlights are smaller than the inside diameter of the mount. So that's what you get with the sights themselves. Okay, now I'm going to do a real quick comparison between the two. The Gen 1, as you can see, this is the Gen 1. The Gen 1 is fairly inexpensive. It was $69. Actually, this one I got on clearance, so it was even cheaper. But the dot on the inside of the Gen 1, if you notice, there's the dot. It's a nice dot, but not very bright. And when you take it out into bright sunlight, the dot tends to disappear, which was one of my complaints about this particular sight. I did a review online of the sight, and I mentioned a few things that were issues with this sight, and Marshall, the CEO of Primary Arms, actually called me up the very next day to ask for more information on those issues that I had with the sight. And I told him about the dim dot plus the cap here. See that? Not exactly attached very securely, so it makes it kind of difficult to close the cap. Sorry about that. Had to trying to do this all with one hand is kind of a pain in the butt. The cap just wasn't very secure. You know, it's kind of a pain in the butt to try and close. The collar around the cap was not very secure, so I wasn't too happy about that. With the exception of that, however, when you actually look at the fit and finish of the sight, it's actually quite nice. The mount is nice. It mounts very securely. About my only complaint about the fit and finish is I'm not a big fan of this type of finish because it's kind of shiny. I prefer things that look a little bit more matte in color, I guess you could say. But otherwise, it's a fairly nice sight. It's light. It's not too heavy. But you know, like I said, there were a couple of issues, and I told him about them. And because I wasn't 100% satisfied, Marshall actually told me he would send me out a next generation Red Dot sight to replace this one, and I could send this one back to him. And I'm going to be doing that on Monday morning. I just figured I'd do this video before I actually sent it back. So a couple days ago, the second gen Red Dot sight shows up at my doorstep, and the improvements in everything, fit and finish, color, the caps on the ends, everything was improved. The sight has a beefier feel to it. The knobs, when you turn them, there's actual resistance. You're not going to come out of your setting. Whereas on the first gen, as you can see, it actually moves fairly easy. If you look at the caps that cover the zeroing knobs are different. This one is actually kind of uncomfortable to try and grab and twist, whereas this one actually feels pretty good when you try to unscrew it. When you compare them side by side, give me a second, get a top-down view of these. If you'll notice, the second generation is quite a bit longer. But when you lift them up and compare the weight of the two, the second gen actually feels slightly lighter. Not by much, but it is noticeable by hand. And most of that extra length actually comes from, if you'll notice, the first generation. It's fairly close to the end of the cover there, and of course you're probably not going to be able to see it too well, but the threading for the kill flash that you can put into this thing, not quite as robust as that one. But what I've noticed is that with the longer cover here, I'm not really quite sure what to call this part, but with the longer cover here, sunlight actually has less of an influence on the dot than the first gen. And even if it did, when you compare the two dots, this one is so much brighter. Look at that. That's on setting 11, the highest setting you can have, compared to, oops, setting 11 on the first gen. The finish of the second gen, it has a nice matte look to it. It's a nice, almost textured feel. I mean, it's not textured, but it kind of feels that way. My only complaint with it is, if you notice, I can put a little scratch in it with my fingernail, but the cool thing is you just wipe it with your finger and it comes right off. The texturing even goes to the caps. As you can see, there's some texturing on the caps, whereas on this one, everything's all smooth. And one of the biggest improvements, and of course you really can't tell on this camera, but the clarity of the lenses is absolutely amazing on the second gen compared to the first gen. I really wish that I had a really nice camera that you guys could see this, because it's absolutely amazing. It's like it's a completely new model and not a second generation of the same Red Dot. But the clarity of these lenses, just absolutely beautiful. It is such a better sight than the first gen, but costs the same. This second gen sight is actually $69.99, which is what the regular price was for the first gen when it first came out. But as you can see, that's a really nice looking sight. Now, the reason why I mentioned my AA multi-reticle red dot that I have mounted on my AR-15 here is because I absolutely love that red dot sight. I love it. It's great. It cost me, I want to say $119, $120 if I remember correctly. And it's a great sight. It's absolutely an amazing sight, and I'm blown away that it only cost me $119. But let me do this here. Put this on the highest setting. There's not much difference between the brightness of this one, which once again cost me $100. Actually, let me put it on the dot instead of the circle with the dot, so you can see the difference. But there's not much difference between this dot and this dot. Okay? But while I absolutely adore this sight, even the lens clarity is nowhere near as good as the lens clarity on the 2032 Red Dot. And once again, keep in mind, I paid $120 for this thing, and that's $69. The things about this that I really like the fact that it's a AA battery instead of a 2032 battery, which can be kind of a pain in the butt to try and locate sometimes, whereas everybody's got AA's in their house. And I like the fact that it has the multi-reticle, because I'm not a big fan of just the dot. Let me show you all these reticles, if I can get it to work. Alright, here we go. I got a dot, I got the plus. Let me turn down this. Maybe if I turn this down some, it might be a little bit clearer for you guys to see. There we go. This is kind of like a circle and a plus together. Turn it up a little bit. And then the one that I personally like a lot is the circle with the dot in the middle. One of these days I'll actually get a decent camera. But like I said, the lens clarity of this isn't even as good as the lens clarity of this. I really like the sight, and I definitely recommend it to people that are on a budget. Now, this is actually a second-gen AA multi-reticle, and I want to say next month in October is when the third gen of this is supposed to come out. And I'll tell you what, if I had $120 laying around, I would probably replace this, because this is a great sight. And I also can't say enough good things about Marshall and his company Primary Arms. I mean, I've actually spent quite a bit of money there now because of the way that they take care of me. They treat every single person that buys something from them as a vital part of their business, which is how a business should take care of their customers. But these guys actually do. I mean, there's absolutely no reason that Marshall should have had to have sent me a replacement sight because I was not happy with a sight that was on clearance. You know, that sight right there, that Gen 1 sight was on clearance, which basically means there's no warranty, there's no you can return this, there's nothing. But their belief in customer service and their belief that they want to put out a excellent product, he gave this sight a warranty and sent out the second generation, which is vastly improved over the first generation, to replace the first gen. Now, like I said, I've bought other things from them. I think I bought these Magpul M-Bus backup sights. I bought that from them, and I also bought this Bravo company charging handle. I bought that from them, which I'm surprised that I went for so many years without one of those things, because now I absolutely can't live without it. I've bought magazines, PMags. This one's actually a 20-round PMag. I've bought that from them, and every single purchase I've ever made has been an absolute joy to do business with them. I've done business with other companies that the customer service isn't anywhere near as good, and if I can get the product at Primary Arms, I'll go to Primary Arms before I go to somebody else. Amazing shipping. The second gen Red Dot actually arrived in 2 days. The day that they said, hey, they're in, we're sending it to you, it arrived the next day, the next afternoon. The longest I've had to wait for something is when I've ordered it on a Saturday. I received it Tuesday morning. If I've ordered it any time during the week, I've usually received it by the end of the second day. I mean, it's just been absolutely amazing, the speed at which these guys get their product out to you. So, like I said, this was Fistandalis. I'm doing a real quick review, actually 18 minutes, not a real quick review, but a review in comparison between the first and second gen CR2032 Red Dot sights from Primary Arms. You guys have a nice day.